I like the fact it's hard. I like the fact it's scary. I like the fact it's volatile. What you really want, this is what you should hope for in life. You should hope that you can see the future and you have a very strong opinion about the future, but that everybody else disagrees with you and they're getting bounced around. It's a bumpy ride. It's like, I'm taking you on a bumpy ride down the road. I'm going to bounce you this way and that way. And in 5 years, then there's a pot of gold at the end. And there's only 2 seats. And there's 10 people. And only 2 of you can get on. So the 2 of you guys, you're like, oh, there's pot of gold at the end? Sorry, pot of Bitcoin at the end? Pot of Bitcoin at the end. Yeah, you're like, okay, well, we'll sign up for the bumpy ride. What else do we got to do? And everybody else is like fat, dumb, and happy. And they've all got plenty of everything and they're comfortable in their life. And they're like, well, that doesn't look like a very comfortable ride. It's like...
This is my second clip today from Michael's interview with Anthony Pompliano in November of 2021. Again, Michael brings a message of hope. In this clip, Michael talks about a world where the strongest currency is the US dollar and the strongest asset is Bitcoin. In this environment, the digital dollars and Bitcoin will both be huge winners. The big losers will be weak assets and weak currencies. Gold will be a big loser in this environment. Please like this video, subscribe, and enjoy the clip. Thank you.
It's volatility, but it keeps going up. People are like, well, how else do you want it to go up? Right? I mean, like, it's going up with volatility. So I think it's a benefit because it's volatility that pays off everybody that does the research and has any conviction. And it disproportionately benefits people that want to make the investment in the new world, and it transfers wealth away from people that are afraid of volatility. It's not really afraid of volatility. I mean, Amazon was volatile, right? I mean, a lot of people made a lot of money on Amazon. A lot of people made a lot of money, even venture capitalists, accept extreme amounts of volatility. I think here you have an example of a liquid publicly traded asset, which is volatile, but in fact, it's still misunderstood by 98% of the public investors. So it's an asymmetric opportunity to buy something which is no less risky than investing in a big tech company, but much less understood. And I think probably the Sharpe ratios would actually bear that out. Correct. If we looked at volatility adjusted yield.
John, what questions you got?
Yeah, nice to see you again, Michael. So you have mentioned, and I tend to agree, that Bitcoin is digital gold and it's a store of value. I'm curious what your thinking is behind people, companies, and other countries using it as a medium of exchange. We've seen El Salvador adopt it. What are your thoughts around that?
I really think that for the next decade, the screaming home run architecture is digital currency as the US dollar on top of digital asset as BTC. And I think that every country really wants to move dollars around as the medium of exchange because 100 million companies have their accounting systems wired for dollars. And I think they want to use the store of value. And I think if you had $100 and $99 are invested in Bitcoin and $1 is invested in the USD, you have 99% of the benefit. In fact, it's not even that. It's like, you don't have to give up anything. If you have $1 million, you put $1 million into Bitcoin and you borrow $100,000 in USD, a stable coin, and then you pay your bill in the USD while the Bitcoin appreciates. So the net balance sheet ratio is 100% Bitcoin, but it doesn't make the currency go away, right? Like MicroStrategy's got more than 100% of its balance sheet in Bitcoin, but we still use the currency. So what I think will happen, if you really want Bitcoin adoption to take off, you don't want to squeeze out the stable coins. I think that the USD stablecoin is actually going to drive the explosion in Bitcoin. The use case of stablecoins up until now has been crypto exchanges settling offshore, right? They're settling crypto exchanges. We didn't use stable coins at MicroStrategy for anything. We don't use stable coins to buy Bitcoin, right? So what you want is you want 8 billion people to use a stable coin to buy coffee. And you also want Amazon and General Electric and Apple to remit cross-border treasuries in stablecoin. And why would you do that? Because you can move money at the speed of light on Saturday afternoon for free. And right now, MicroStrategy can't move money cross borders at the speed of light for free. Would we move USD by a stablecoin? Yeah. Would we move Bitcoin? Well, we might flash it into Bitcoin for a second, move it in another second, flash it back into USD, right? A la, Strike and Jack Mallers. We might do that. But I actually think that what the world wants, not just the world, every consumer in South America, Africa would love to have dollars in their wallet. They would also love, they know that now. Everybody knows that now. That's 100%, right? Everybody knows they want dollars in their wallet now. So the US dollar could spread to 6 billion people. It would spread to 8 billion people if the Chinese didn't block it, right? It'll spread to all 8 billion people. Now, they don't all know they want to hold their life savings in Bitcoin, but that's growing at a massive rate. That's spreading like a virus. Every government knows they want to control their currency. The strong governments will. The US will. The Chinese will. The EU will. The weak governments won't, right? Afghanistan, Venezuela and places with hyperinflation, Zimbabwe, they will lose their currency privileges because they're weak. And who will they lose them to? To the dollar, right? So what I think is happening is you're just going to see an explosion in the dollar, an explosion in Bitcoin, an explosion in demand for money moving over lightning rails. If you could move stablecoin over lightning rails, that would accelerate the growth of lightning, right? Yeah, the killer application I want on my phone is a lightning wallet with USD stablecoin and then Bitcoin, and to be able to move either of them at the speed of light in a programmatic fashion. And I think they both win. Who loses? And this is the key. There's too much. The dollar must lose so Bitcoin can win. No. Who loses is weak assets and weak currencies. Can you think of a weaker asset than Bitcoin? Every other investment asset, right? Especially gold, silver, commodities, land, weak value stocks, and big tech stocks. They're all weaker assets. So you see money flow there's 500 trillion of them, by the way. Right? We have 500 trillion in weak assets. If you got the 10 trillion from gold, we'd be up by a factor of 10. So I think that weak assets flow to the strong asset, and then weak currencies. How many currencies in the world are weaker than the dollar? Name one currency, fiat currency in the world, stronger than the dollar. None. They're all weaker. CNY is weaker. Every African currency, every Asian currency, everything. So 180 nominal currencies, a lot of them are pegged to the dollar, 130 floating currencies. They all can be replaced with the dollar. So who wins? Western banks, Western technology companies, Western hardware devices, the Western world, the United States, Western Europe. Who wins? Everybody that embraces Bitcoin, right? Who loses? The nation of gold, right? I mean, you want to declare war on something? Declare a war on gold. They don't have an army. They don't have an air force. There's no politicians running for office of president of gold. There's no city, state, country. No one is crying thinking that their way of life will come to an end if gold got demonetized. So if I had one request from the Bitcoin community, my request would be focus your guns on gold. Ultimately, gold is being demonetized. This is not speculation on the part of Michael Saylor. You have all the stats. It's been demonetized for the past decade, right? It doesn't have a country. It doesn't have an army. It doesn't collect taxes. There's not a single person on earth that is going to lie down in front of a tank to defend the nation of gold. And yet gold is the enemy because gold is a dumb rock sitting. You can't mortgage your gold. You can't lean up your gold. It's hard to rent your gold or license it or develop it further. You know, gold is not big tech. You can't put gold on an iPhone. So ultimately, what you have is there are two things that should succeed and grow. The US dollar, if you live in the United States and you believe in Western values and freedom and justice, right, and Western law and the progressive movement, you want the US dollar to grow. And instead of saying, well, the dollar is like a problem to save in, forget about that. Just point out that if you live in Africa and Asia, you would give your left arm to trade in dollars, right? So the dollar should expand on lightning rails, and Bitcoin should expand, and they go together, and we all win. We all win, right? The world's a better place. Every company, everybody wins. If you're going to compete, by the way, if you're going to compete with Square Cash App, then you might lose. If you're going to compete with Twitter, you might lose. If you're going to compete with the United States of America, you might lose. My advice is you don't got to destroy the banks. You don't have to topple a government. You don't have to crush a currency. You don't have to stop a regulator. You don't have to, eliminate PayPal, right? You don't have to compete with all of them. You can buy Bitcoin. You want to compete with something, declare war on a dead rock, right? Declare war on the rock, right?
The rock has been losing for a while now.
And after you finish declaring war on the rock, declare war on dead property, right? Dead money, right? What are low velocity, not... I don't want to hold 500 acres in the middle of nowhere as a store of value. I don't want to hold 5 tons of rock as a store of value. I don't want to monetize these things. So if you start thinking that way and you think, I just want to take my monetary energy, put it into digital energy, and then I want to partner and ally with everything I find admirable, every great company, every great politician, every great country, right? Every great technology. Just be positive, be constructive, and we all go and we win together. The world will rebuild itself, right? It's going to rebuild itself. I would prefer that it rebuild itself in a peaceful, constructive, cheerful fashion, as opposed to, someone's got to lose so I could win. I think everybody can win. Right? If we invent electricity and we invent math and we invent fire, isn't it highly likely the entire human race is better off because of math, fire, and electricity? Right? I think, right? We can all win together, and so that's the way I see that.